Do you ever feel like manifestation is just another thing on your to-do list that you don't have time for? Like your spiritual practice is something that you have to do? Honestly, you're not alone because I felt that way too. Something that's really changed my relationship with manifestation is blending it into my lifestyle so that no matter what I'm doing, I'm also manifesting. I call this manifestation as a lifestyle, and it's single handedly made the entire manifestation journey more enjoyable for me. And I've seen my desires show up with a lot more ease. Manifesting as a lifestyle has made manifestation go from feeling like a task to something I just naturally do because it's who I am. If you'd like to learn more about this, I've created a step by step guide for you. I'll link it in my show notes so you can check it out. You're listening to the Affirmation Addict podcast with Payal Corley. This podcast will teach you about the power of affirmations while making manifestation easy and accessible for you in order to enhance your spiritual consciousness. Thank you so much for being here, and now it's time to get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Affirmation Addict podcast. My name is Payal, and today I'm diving into a topic I have quite honestly completely avoided talking about. I say this, I feel like so often, but it's one of the most common things I get asked about. And that is, can I manifest a specific person? And I think I struggle to answer this question because, on the surface, theoretically, the answer is yes. However, with my manifestation philosophy, what I've experienced, what I've seen over the past few years, 15 years is not few, but what I've seen over all of these years and my understanding of the manifestation principles, I feel like it crosses so many ethical boundaries from yourself, not anybody else, but just I think it just really, I have so much to say on this topic, and it's so not what people who are asking the question want to hear. Because on the surface, I really do think you can manifest anything. However, I think there are so many nuances to be considered along the manifestation journey that my honest, specific, and genuine answer is something that I've never actually been able to explain. And I think my podcast is the best format to explain that. So let me just dive right into it. I apologize if I'm thinking more before I speak than usual. I don't want to sound discouraging to anyone who's excited about manifestation. And especially if you are trying to manifest a specific person, I want to share with you just some tips to help you. I personally have a very strong ethical boundary of just not advertising and not marketing and not kind of selling myself as someone who will teach you how to manifest a specific person, because I have so many experiences with the universe where it's I thought I knew exactly what I wanted. I got it and I was so wrong. And I think that manifesting as a specific person is just a way to use manifestation to get exactly what we want. And that's honestly not the point of manifestation. So I will dive into just my genuine, honest thoughts. It is February. I think there's a lot of kind of love and soulmate and self-love stuff that kind of comes up. So I really do want to answer this question. And I'm kind of nervous. This is the first time I've been nervous to record a podcast because I think when people get into the manifestation space, one of the first things they get the most excited about, and maybe this is you, is the potential to manifest a specific person. And this episode, I want to come at it with full honesty, and I never want it to sound soul crushing or discouraging, but if you do somehow take it that way, listen towards the end, and I will give you some tips on ways you can work with manifestation principles and not tweak them to help you manifest a specific person. However, what are some actual things you can do to approach it? And you're welcome to apply it to a specific person, but I will never kind of guarantee or even endorse doing that. But if you want to do that, that's on you. And so I will share some tips and manifestation tips on manifesting soulmates. However, I'm going to just go into manifesting your specific person. So this is kind of the question I get. Can I manifest an SP? And when I first heard this, I had no idea what this meant. And then I kind of recently started seeing more and more SP, specific person. And So my full philosophy is that theoretically, with the power we all have within us, is it possible? Yes. I think we can all manifest anything we want. Will it actually happen is, I believe, a very, very different thing. You have, I think, the potential and the capabilities within you to get whatever you want. Will your specific person actually come into your life? I can't guarantee that because I don't know if that's actually your truest desire. So, this is where the manifestation principles really come into light. And I've only really fully understood this and been able to articulate this probably within the past 6 months. But I used to kind of love teaching manifestation, like, okay, you can get your dream job, you get your dream home, you get your soulmate, you get all of like kind of your big milestone manifestations. However, I realized those only came into my life when I knew exactly why I wanted it for myself. And no one can teach you that. No one can give you your why. No one can explain to you why it is so important to you. So maybe you have a specific person in mind, and that specific person is striking a very specific chord within you that makes you feel like they are the one. Does that mean it is actually them? That's a kind of a different story. That's in a way us trying to control the how. But what is that chord that that specific person is striking that is making you feel so enamored and so much so that you want to be with them? That is something that you can actually get curious about. It's not something to be scared of or discouraged of. It's actually something where you can be like, okay, well, why do I think I want to be with this person or marry this person? What is it that they're striking within me? And getting clear as to what they're sparking within you, that is so energizing and exciting, rather than getting so hyper fixated on them. Get fixated on what they're striking within you. And that is information, and that is something that you can use to understand your why and what is so important to you. The reason I stray so heavily away from manifesting a specific person is because I think it's an inadvertent way for us to control exactly what's coming up. And now you might be thinking, Pyle, isn't that the point of manifestation? And I'm actually going to say no. I think the point of manifestation isn't controlling the physical manifestations. It's controlling and calling in the things that we believe our physical manifestation will shift in our world. And most of the time that's a feeling. Sometimes it's like a feeling about ourselves. Sometimes it's an emotion or a sensation. But most of the times we want a very specific physical manifestation because of what we think it will bring us once it's in our life. So not even related to relationships. Maybe you want a specific home because you think it'll make you feel like you made it. You think it'll make you feel successful enough. You think it'll make you feel high up enough in society. Those are all feelings. Like, that has actually nothing to do with the specific home. You want that specific home for the feelings and the almost thoughts and beliefs that it's evoking within you. Now, you get to decide if those thoughts are really aligned with your higher self or if they're aligned with your ego. Neither are bad, but our ego self is sometimes a little bit more in a survival lack mindset, and our higher self is a lot more in a inner alignment, intuitive abundance mindset, like there is more than enough. So when it comes to manifesting a specific person, when you get overly fixated on that specific person and you get so attached to that specific person, I actually think it's just a means to control something that you think that you want, that you think will make you happy. You don't know with confidence that that's going to make you happy, and you won't know. You won't know for sure. And you feel like that certainty because there's a certain emotion and sensation going on within you, but you don't know how long that's going to last. And that's the risk. I think that's the risk of love. That's the risk of being vulnerable in a relationship. And I think that's a risk that we are all most of the time willing to take, but we feel a certain emotion with a specific person and we think that that cuts out all risk. So it almost feels safer to manifest a specific person because in our head, we have logically planned out how this will work and how this is my best, most safe, most kind of expansive, most loving option, when you might not even know what's out there and you might be cutting out so many possibilities. So I'm going to give you some examples of myself, because I think it can be a little bit confusing. When someone says manifest a specific person, what does that even mean? Does that mean you want to manifest them like texting you back? Does that mean you want to manifest them becoming your boyfriend? Does that mean you want to manifest them becoming your wife or your husband? Does that mean marriage for you? Like, that in itself is so vague. And so get even clear when you kind of are asking the question, I want to manifest this. What does that mean? Does that look like relationships? Does that look like just memories with the person? What do you want with that person, firstly? And then start to think about, why is it that this person is striking these chords within me? Because I have been in relationships. And so when you date, right, like you're dating people, you're kind of with this person, you're not sure. Like, you have no idea if it's actually going to last, if they're actually the one until it happens. And maybe some people do get married and maybe they do end up in a broken marriage or in a divorce or just not actually working out. So it's like, what does that guarantee that you are trying to get yourself? Because I think we ultimately try manifesting a specific person out of a feeling of certainty and security that is actually very false. Like, that actually doesn't exist. There is no certainty and security. I don't even have certainty and security with my own husband. We have the best relationship. I love him. He loves me, but there is no telling. Like, you never know what's going to happen. And not that I think that it can happen, but like, there is no like written in stone that nothing's ever going to happen. And I think that that is the true nature of life. Like, nothing is ever kind of fully in stone and fully so certain. And it's like, that's really uncomfortable to actually wrap your mind around. So we like to think, okay, marriage, that box is done, never have to do it again. I don't think people who get divorces or have breakups with their high school sweethearts are ever like waiting for are ever expecting or starting out that relationship knowing or assuming it's going to end in that. So nothing is actually that certain except that feeling that you're chasing. So if you think about it, you're not actually chasing a specific person. You're chasing a scenario that you believe that that specific person is going to fill in and accomplish. So for me, I would date guys, but I was limiting the guys I was dating. So I didn't actually ever have like a specific person I was trying to manifest and call in. But if I like had a crush on a guy and I'd be like, ooh, I would love to date you, I could forcefully make myself become their girlfriend. But that doesn't mean that it was exactly what I needed. I would make myself think that. I would pretend that, or I would kind of in my head lie to myself and be like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for, even though it's not at all what I'm looking for. But I had these kind of preconceived notions on what I believed my perfect guy would be. And I've talked about this before, but I thought my perfect guy would be Indian, number one. I only by choice dated Indian guys. It filled so many prerequisites. It made me feel safe. It made me feel like my parents would automatically be more accepting. All of these things I filtered through and wouldn't even date a non-American guy or a non-Indian guy. I would never even open up that box. So for the longest time, I kept dating these guys and I was like, oh, I hate these patterns that I'm experiencing. It is not in alignment and these relationships are not what I'm looking for. But while I was in those relationships, did I flash forward and imagine myself marrying these boys? 100% I did. So it's not like when you're in a relationship, you might not want to manifest. Like you're going to consider spending the rest of your life most likely with multiple people, and don't let that curiosity determine what you're trying to manifest. Don't let manifestation become a forceful thing of you willing something that you really want into your life, because chances are you might be settling and you might not know what's actually best for you. I always get a ton of questions in my DMs from people asking how I can manifest X. The truth is, you can really manifest anything as long as it's for the greatest good. And if you're having trouble manifesting something right now, or you feel stuck on your journey, I have a really beautiful resource I've made for you. It's a free quiz. It's called the Manifestation Archetype Quiz. And it's something that I've created so you can find out your manifestation style to give you more clarity on your spiritual journey. After taking the quiz, you're going to receive the best resources for your specific archetype to help you attract your desires based on where you're at and what you want to create. So you can find a link to the quiz in the show notes, or just head to my website at www.affirmation-addict.com. So the way Tom finally started to actually come into my life was I got out of a relationship. I went on a trip with my friends, and their friend, who was Tom, was meeting up with them in Seattle. And we all stayed together. And that's when I met him. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I feel such a strong pull, but I'm so confused because you are nothing like any guy I've ever dated or been attracted to or even had like a deep connection with. So I'm not understanding what's happening. Like you are so masculine, like so like army boy, like fit and strong and tall. Like he was just everything that I've never dated before and everything that I wasn't looking for. And it was exactly what I needed. So this is where I feel like your specific person is sometimes checking the boxes that you think that you want, but are those desires actually yours? For me, my desire of having an Indian guy had nothing to do with me. It had to do with my parents. My desire of having someone who wasn't long distance had to do with me not wanting to deal with long distance. And we were in a long distance relationship for the first 2 years. My like ideal was having someone who was like super like smart, like a doctor, so then potentially I wouldn't have to work. Tom was like in the military and willing to work, but it's not like he was like just assumably going to have a lot of money due to his profession. So it was like all of these things were never actually for me. They were for how do I get that stamp of approval from my parents? How do I get that stamp of approval from my friends? How do I get that stamp of approval from everyone I've grown up with? Tom is like the most disruptive part of my life. And I am so grateful for it. He is so opposite of me. He is so adventurous. He is so like outdoorsy, genuinely outdoorsy, like can live off the land outdoorsy. He is so active. He is so disciplined. He's everything I am not. But I didn't know what I was not until I met him. He showed me everything that I could have become, and I could have never planned for that. I could have never actively manifested his qualities as a specific person because I don't think I had the awareness. It was not in my spectrum. So that is why I personally have such a strong aversion to manifesting a specific person is one, because I have tried forcing like relationship things into my life and they've never fully worked out, or I was just pretending. And then when I finally just stopped doing that, that is when Tom came into my life. And I literally appreciate our relationship and what we teach each other on a daily basis in a non-forced way, and we have the most fun together. Like we're truly like best friends turned soulmates, turned lovers, turned all of these things, like turned business partners, turned partners. Like he is like my world in the heart space, but he also taught me to think for myself and be myself. And I realized that I wanted a specific person as a mask. I wanted a specific person, or I wanted to marry whatever boyfriend I was dating at the time just to get it over with, not because I really thought about what I wanted out of a marriage, not because I really thought about what it is that I wanted out of these relationships. And I was scared too, because I was scared that it wouldn't happen. So it was like, oh, okay, like there's someone who kind of fits most of the bill and I think I can make it work. And I was like, let's just get it done so I don't have to worry about it. It was almost like, let me rush to get it done rather than wait for the person who's going to make me expand into something I could have never believed I would have become. And I think that takes a lot more courage. I think manifesting a specific person comes from a very controlling mindset versus manifesting your soulmate or someone who inspires you or whatever you want to call it. Like manifesting a partner, I think takes a lot more courage and takes a lot more trust in the universe. I think, and I'll be so blunt here, but I think manifesting a specific person is in a way like a form of disrespect to the universe, because you're not trusting that the universe might also know what's good for you, and you're almost overly confident in what it is that you want that you don't think anyone else knows better than you. It's almost like you're coming from a space of all knowing and not open to something that you might not know. Versus for me, if I came from a state of all knowing, I know I would be miserable to this day. I'd be working at KPMG, working a 9-to-5 job, because none of the other guys I dated would have ever supported this, because I even talked to them about it. So it's like, I know that I wouldn't be living my happiest or most free or peaceful and happy, joyous life, but it came from me dropping the pressure of trying to force who it is that fills that role rather than getting clear on what that role actually looks like, what that relationship actually looks like to me. Like, we love controlling, and I think we sometimes use our manifestations as a means of control, but manifestation is so much about trust and surrender. All of the things that we hate doing. I get it. I know if you're listening to this and you're just cringing, I promise I have some actual tips for you that will really help. But I think manifesting a specific person is totally the opposite of what the whole point of manifestation is. I think manifestation principles are bringing you closer to yourself. I think they're bringing you closer to your power, are bringing you closer to your peace and satisfaction within yourself. And when we manifest a specific person, I think it can come from a lot of shallowness. I think it can come from a lot of ego. And I don't know if it's always coming from the space of your higher self. Maybe you feel, so disclaimer now, maybe you feel like a really strong pull towards someone. Instead of trying to force them into your life, instead of trying to force them to like marry you and stuff, maybe just get to know them and get curious about what is so mysterious about them. So instead of trying to force the results of certain relationships and certain people and the labels they're going to have in your life, get curious about what's making them strike some sparks inside of you. Because I think relationships are so important, whether it's like romantic, whether it's friendship, whether it's just like whatever type of relationship it is. I think they can teach us a lot. And so instead of focusing on like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with that person, think about, I love the way that what that person is bringing up within me, and get curious and amplify that, because that takes the pressure off of that person. And you can be like, hey, universe, I like that. I want more of that. And that's how you can start to attract more of your perfect formula and your perfect match where you actually reciprocate each other. I think there are totally circumstances where manifesting a specific person may have worked for people. I will be honest. I think I've been in the space for a really long time, and no one I know who's been in a successful relationship or longer lasting marriage has ever manifested a specific person and it actually be like a soul serving and spiritual partnership and fun loving relationship. That's only because of what I have seen. I believe that there are people who have manifested their specific partners and amazing relationships. I do believe that's possible. But I think just when we approach it as manifesting a specific person, like I love this person and like this is their name, and we get so excited about that potential. I think we love jumping really quickly, which I've done before too. But it's like, how can we pump those brakes, and how can we just get curious about what it is that that person is reflecting? Because ultimately, the people in our life are reflecting something that's within us, whether it's good or the bad. And kind of put it back onto yourself. So my biggest tip for you is, if you're really focused on manifesting a specific person for just a couple months, see how the different people that you've wanted to end up with, or the people who have really sparked some just excitement within you, see what they're lighting up within yourself, because they will never be able to give you something that you don't already have within. So what are they enhancing within you? And take that as a point of inspiration. Take it as a point of, oh my gosh, like I'm pretty amazing also. And go from that lens. I think it's so easy to almost want to call in a relationship to fix all the problems, fix the insecurities, fix the I'm not good enough, fix the I'm not worthy of being loved, fix the loneliness. And I will tell you so straight up, manifesting my truest soulmate. So I didn't actually experience this in a lot of my dating relationships. But when I met Tom, I experienced every single shadow I had spent my entire life avoiding. We had to go through long distance where we couldn't communicate. He was in very like dangerous places on his deployment, so we couldn't talk. We were from completely different cultures. So I had to deal with the reality of telling my parents that I think I may or may not be disappointing you, which is what I spent so much time dating specific guys with the assumption and hope that the guys I'm choosing wouldn't be as disappointing to them. And just so many different shadows were highlighted that I think manifesting your soulmate is such an act of courage. Like, yes, there is so much fun and love and having all of those butterflies and exciting feelings. But I will tell you, like, I didn't feel nearly as many butterflies as I felt with Tom. All I felt was safety. I felt calm and I felt safe. Like, I felt so safe with him that I never felt that with any other guy. So if you are looking for a soulmate, instead of kind of chasing the butterflies, I invite you to chase the calm, chase the safety, chase the groundedness. Because I feel like if you're listening to this podcast, you have a sense of awareness and you have a higher kind of sensitivity to things and energy sensitivity, that you probably know who makes you feel like you want to just like get up and fly. And maybe that flight is exciting and exhilarating for a little bit, but who makes you want to stay? Who makes you want to feel safe and express yourself and share things that you've never shared before, or admit things about yourself that you've never admitted to yourself before? That's something that I really realized with Tom is all fronts were down. I told him right off the bat, and I've never said this out loud to any other guy I dated, but I was like, I'm needy as hell. I was like, I am needy and I will need a lot of communication that you probably can't give me, but that is something that is going to be really important to me. And I had never admitted that because I was embarrassed of it. I was embarrassed as to how needy I was and how much I needed to text back and how much a not text back affected me. It truly embarrassed me. And I've never told any other guy that because I was too busy playing the game. But with Tom, I was like, this is important to me. And I felt that safety to be able to admit, this is actually who I am and something I need in a relationship. Are you able to try to kind of show up in a relationship in that way? So I think that's another really good sign of just maybe this person might be something different. And then another thing is, you don't always know what's right for you. You don't know like specifically what height or what ethnicity or what job or profession that your soulmate is in. But what you do probably already know is what you would love your partnership to look like. So it's like, okay, you have your soulmate. Then what? What is your relationship like with your family and their family, if that applies? What is your thoughts on kids, if that's important? What are your like evenings like after work? What are both of your work days like? How do you interact with each other? Get clear on what's important to you in life after receiving your soulmate. It's so easy to get so stuck on, I just want to get my soulmate and everything will be fine. I kid you not, everything will feel like it's fine. And then it might feel like a little bit of a roller coaster. And then it might feel fine. Like now I feel in a very good place with Tom. But like for honestly, the first 2 years, it was so up and down, but so worth it because I knew I was kind of going into an initiation of a new version of me. But I really knew what I wanted my life after a relationship to look like. And that included a lot of travel. It included blended family. Like I wanted my family and his family, whoever his family was, to be able to genuinely get along. I wanted to feel comfortable with my in-laws and I wanted my husband to feel comfortable with my parents. I wanted family trips. I wanted me and Tom or me and significant other trips. And I wanted both of us to be able to work from home. That was like the lifestyle that I had imagined for us. And that is exactly the life we're living. It scares me sometimes as to how my true desires, like the desires that were genuinely deeply important to me, consistently important to me for a really long time, are the ones that actually manifested. Some of the more shallow stuff, I think at one point I probably had a desire. This was a very shallow one and I'm embarrassed to admit it. But if you're embarrassed at your past self, that means you're growing. And I know one of my like desires was like, we both would be able to just retire at age 30 and not work. And what Tom has taught me is that your work is your passion and your passion fuels your life. So it's like, I'm not even trying to retire. I am just trying to live a happy life and just switching like your paradigm and understanding what it is that you actually want, or what is it that you're thinking that you want that is actually someone else's desire or story or belief that you've seen, heard, or adopted. And that takes discovery, that takes curiosity, that takes reflection. And that is something you can start doing now. think about, what is your soulmate like to you? What is life after having your soulmate like? What is marriage like if that's in the cards for you? What is all of that like? And just get playful with that. Let yourself get excited about that rather than the moment of them showing up. We love holding on to that, but that is literally one moment. And the rest of your life with your soulmate is actually where more energy is going to be spent. So don't focus on how is that person coming and when are they going to come. Focus on what is life going to be like after. And that gives you so much clarity on how you can start actually acting as if. One of the way I met Tom was I took a spontaneous trip, and I knew how important like travel and exploring and just that freedom to travel was important for me. And that is totally manifested. Like, me and Tom can get up and go. We take trips all the time. We can take a month-long trip if we want. Like, we have that freedom and we both enjoy doing it together. And that was how I met him. Is I wasn't planning on it. I decided to spontaneously take a last-minute trip with my friends, literally booked my flight the night before. And I met him. And if I didn't book it, I wouldn't have seen him. And maybe things would have been different. I don't know. And so it's really, really powerful when you can give yourself permission to stop using manifestation as a means to control and use manifestation as a means of self-discovery, as a means of self-exploration and self-understanding. And I think manifesting a specific person sometimes counteracts a lot of that. So try some of the tips I just shared. Really grab your journal or just explore what life is like after your soulmate. Use the radar of butterflies versus safety when you're kind of going on dates or meeting people, and allow yourself to be honest about, is this coming from my ego? Is this kind of qualification I might be assigning, or is what this person is sparking within me an ego-based thing or a higher self thing? And start to go through and explore. Get curious on all the different layers. And the most important one, I think, is if you are currently focused on a very specific person, instead of focusing on that person, focus on what that person is sparking within you, because that is already within you and that is who you are, and you have that. That person isn't bringing that to the table. That person is just highlighting one aspect of you. So imagine if all aspects of you were highlighted, how amazing and kind of untapped and unbound you would feel. That's the possibility of truly manifesting your soulmate, in my opinion. And sometimes we don't know who is best for us. We don't know what we don't know. And that can be so scary, but that can also be the most liberating thing. Because it's not your job necessarily to find your person. It's your job to understand your version of who your person may be, but you don't have to find that. That's kind of the universe's job. So let's stick to our roles. Let the universe stick to the universe's job, and let it be a beautiful co-creation. That is my take on manifesting your specific person. If you want, I will say, people have kind of fluxed some affirmations and put their specific person's name or energy into it. If that feels important to you still after listening to this episode, try it out. But don't be scared to understand yourself, and don't be afraid to look in the mirror and get to know yourself, because getting to know yourself, I really do think, is a pathway to manifesting your soulmate. And maybe in trying to manifest a specific person, maybe you are running away from yourself. Maybe you're not, but just explore it. I say this with only love. I know I kind of hit a lot of different chords and might have kind of triggered you a little bit or said things that you didn't want to know, but just know you are capable of manifesting what's fully best for you and your higher self. And I have no doubt that that will come into your life. You just have to trust that too. You have to trust that you're doing your job. You have to trust that the universe is doing its job. And with that, you have the most beautiful relationship, honestly. So I hope this episode answered some questions. I hope it gave you some things that you can really take away from if this is one of your big focuses right now. And I hope it gave you a few different perspectives. And I say this once again with seriously only love. I wish you only love for yourself, for others. And I do hope you find your soulmate if you're listening to this. I love you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If this episode resonated with you, it would mean the world to me if you could rate and review the podcast and share it on your social media so I know to keep creating episodes that are inspiring you to manifest. I'm so genuinely grateful for the time we shared today, and I'd love for you to join the community by following @AffirmationAddict on Instagram. To continue diving into spirituality and manifestation, head over to my website, affirmation-addict.com. Until next time, I'm sending you so much love and so much healing energy.